Hello. In this video, we're going to go through the input page. So this is going to look at the entire input page. So there's videos on each specific section of the input page. However, if you watch this video, it'll go through all the different sections, so you don't need to watch the minor ones. Let's take a look. Okay, here we are at the FSG Predictor, and we're on the Input tab. There are 6 different sections to the Input tab. So let's go ahead and look at each one separately. Step 1 here is to enter your league data. So anything in green, and this is true across the FSG Predictor, anything in green is user editable. So this is where I'm looking for you to input information. So we need to know the number of teams, whether or not you want to use the rookie adjustment. And so I'd suggest you watch the video on rookie adjustment. It's a way to help the rookies sort properly when you're weighting projections using previous year's stats. So if I'm using previous year's stats, rookies are at a severe disadvantage. But if you use the rookie adjustment, that helps them out. Defensive type, whether you're using a defensive team, an individual defensive player, or both. Whether or not you want to do tiering. So most players clump themselves into groups, and so we call this tiering when we separate them out. So if 3 players are part of the same tier group, then during the draft it really doesn't matter which one you pick. So whether I pick the first, second, or third, they're all close enough in total points or expected value that you can pick anyone out of that particular tier. And then tiering points is another thing that you'd want to set up. So for example, if you're in a high scoring league, something that typical team scores are 200 plus, then you'd want your tiering to be slightly larger than, say, a league where the typical scoring is only 50 points per week. So that's the league setup area. Next is the position setup. So what you're doing here is you're putting in all your starting players. So this would be your required starting lineup. You can see here we've got 9 total starters. That includes a flex position. And then I put in backup players. So most leagues do not require a specific number of backup players. However, in your mind, you should have an idea of how many backups per position you would like to have. So this kind of forces your hand to do that as well. And so you can see we've got 9 starters, 8 backups. So we've got a total of 17 players that you're going to have on your team. So that gives you a total number of starters of 108 starters across 12 teams and 204 players across 12 teams that are actually going to be drafted. Below that is the flex position. So if you're using a flex, tell me which ones are going to be flex. So we can just click here, use the drop down yes, no. And this helps you during the draft. It also helps when we create the cheat sheets. So if we have flex players, we're going to add more players that could potentially be drafted. Next is the importance. So this is the importance of that position. So if you feel that certain positions are worth more or have a higher level of importance, you could increase this, say, to 1.5. What this means is that you think that quarterbacks are more important than running backs. And then what this does is it adjusts this thing called the ranking value. So the ranking value is taking the total number of players, multiplying it by the importance, and you come up with a value. And if you're going to, you can do 2 types of sorts when you create your cheat sheets. You can either do a total points, so I expect running back 1 to get 200 points, and I expect quarterback 1 to get 201 points. Then if I just sort by total points, the quarterback is going to be higher than the running back, right? Because I expect the quarterback to get 201 points, the running back to get 200 points. However, if you look at the total number that are going to be drafted, there's going to be twice as many running backs drafted. So you probably want to assign a higher value to your running back because more running backs are going to be drafted than quarterbacks. And so what this does is it takes that value, it takes their total points, multiplies it by this value. So in our example, it would take 4 times 200. So that running back 1 would have a value of 800. And it would take the quarterback 3 times the 201. So you'd have 603. So when I sort by ranking value, the running back is actually more valuable than the quarterback. Even though they're expected to get about the same number of total points, that running back's going to get drafted well ahead of the quarterback. And so sorting by ranking value is an important concept to understand. And so the two factors there are the total number of players in that position, so 4 running backs, 2 quarterbacks, and then this importance value that you assign yourself. Okay, so that's the position setup. Step 3 is weighting projections. So if we go to look at any of the positions, the way that Fantasy Sports Garage collects data is it has a predicted 2015, and then it looks at 3 years of back data. So it's got 2014, 2013, 2012. Then it's got Fantasy Sports Garage projections. So this is what we're projecting that player to get. And then you have the opportunity to import data from 3 other sites, so 3 external sites, whether it be ESPN, Yahoo, wherever you want to get the data. Then you can take that data and you can combine it however you want to create your actual projection. So in this case here, it says the projection being used is 100% Fantasy Sports Garage. And you can tell that right here. It says which weighting option are we using, Fantasy Sports Garage. I could create my own, say called it 50%, 50%. And let's say we're going to use 50% from 2014 and 50% Fantasy Sports Garage. Come here. I select that. You can see that that projection now has gone down to my custom scoring. And if I come back here and I look at my running backs, you can see that Jamal Charles, we're expecting him to score 282. You can see that this hasn't been sorted. You still need to do a sort. So if I just click sort here within the span of a second, you can see that DeMarco Murray now is expected in this scoring weighting projection. DeMarco Murray is planned to get 353 and Le'Veon Bell is 345. If I want to go back and do all Fantasy Sports Garage, I can come back here. You can see that things have changed. I do a resort, and you can see that Jamal Charles is now on top. DeMarco Murray has actually slid down to number 3, and Matt Forte is second. So this is how you can create your own projections. So whether you want to use all Fantasy Sports Garage, you can use all of the Site 1, Site 2, or Site 3 that you import. You can use a combination of anything, right? So you can create all your own custom ones, and you can change them as often as you like to see, how that affects the overall ranking of all your players. All right, step 4 is getting ready to create your cheat sheets. So you got a cheat sheet set up here. So auto determine the number of players. If this is set to yes, then this is going to determine how many players are on your cheat sheets. And it does that by looking at how many total players are going to be drafted. So if I've got a starting quarterback and a backup quarterback, that's 2. Multiply that by the number of teams. That gives me 24 quarterbacks that are going to be drafted. Running back, same thing. 4. Oh, something's wrong there. That must be a number that I added in myself. So what will happen is the system will auto determine the number of players. Or, as you can see what I did with running backs here, is I actually overrode this number. So if I set this to no, I can just set, okay, yeah, I want 50 here, 50 here, and, 100 here, and so on. And then when I go ahead and I create my cheat sheets, it'll use these numbers that I've entered. Or I can reset this to auto-determine the number of players. When it creates the cheat sheets, as I mentioned, you have 2 different options here. You can do total points, which is just a running back getting 200 points and a quarterback getting 201. That quarterback is going to be ranked higher than the running back because he's going to get more points. Or I can do it by ranking value, which is multiplying those points by this ranking value. And in our example, the running back now has a much higher value than the quarterback. Once you've done that, you can click on the Update All Projections and create your cheat sheets. before you do that, if you're doing research on your players, you can do this rookie adjustment. So we talked about the rookie adjustment, where for example, in this example here, let's say I do 25, 25, and then 25, and then 25 for site 1. Any rookie is going to be at a severe disadvantage because this 50% of the stats is coming from years where that player did not play. So what the system will do is it will go through and it will find the rookies, and then it will apply this 25% spread across the projections. So in this case, let's do, how about we do a 10, 10, 40, 40. All right, so what it's going to do is it's going to take 10% and slide it over here, 10% slide it to the other one, and now the rookie stat is going to be spread 50-50 across Fantasy Sports Garage and Site 1. Right, as opposed previously, that 20% would just be zeros. Right, so the rookie adjustment is quite important. So you can turn it on by clicking the rookie adjustment here, or you can undo it by just clicking here. And if you're going to do create cheat sheets, if this is set to yes, then it will do the rookie adjustment for you on the fly. All right, the last section here is system updates. So if you've had this sheet for quite a while, every once in a while you want to come in and you do an external update. What this will do is it'll go back to the FSG website, and any of the data under FSG that changes, the data will come through and it will tell you for which position and how many changes were made. So then you can see at a glance, say a running back gets hurt during spring training or training camp. Obviously that guy's stats are going away, so are at least going to be diminished somewhat. And so we'll take that into account. So you want to make sure you click external update on a regular basis as you're using this. If you're using the predictor, after you've done all this, you've created your cheat sheets, then you're ready to go to draft day and get ready for your actual live draft. All right, good luck.